Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to another episode of Connect with the Quran. You're here with Najma Ansari, and we are having a look at Surah Kaf and the stories within it and why we are recommended to read it on Friday. So before I get into it, I'd love you to listen to a passage from the middle of the surah. It's around ayah 64 or 65. So let's just listen to that, and then inshallah we will go through it for a little bit. So A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
فوجدا عبدا من عبادنا آتيناه رحمة من عندنا وعلمناه من لدنا علما قال له موسى هل أتبعك على أن تعلمني مما علمت رشدا قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا وكيف تصبر على ما لم تحط به خبرا قال ستجدني إن شاء الله صابرا ولا أعصي لك أمرا قال فإن اتبعتني فلا تسألني عن شيء حتى أحدث لك منه ذكرا.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. So here we are into the third story of the ayah that is mentioned in Surah Kaf, which and it also is to invite us to take heed of it, and it will keep us safe from the fitna of Dajjal. That is from the ahadith, but even without it, Surah Kaf is a beautiful surah to read. We need to be reading it, and as much as we can in these days of fitna, even more frequently than just once a week. But the beauty is that do try and know the meanings of it. Do try and get into the Arabic as a language to learn, and so that you understand it yourself when you hear it, when you're reading it. But that's a background to it. We've had the story of the sleepers of the cave, the Ashab al-Kahf, the people of the two gardens. And then we also had a khutbah, call it, or like an intermediary lesson to recap the stories. And there was mention of Iblis being one of the jinn, and he's there designed to derail you. So take heed and don't get derailed into shirk or other things like that. So it was a fitna of youth about with iman, of trying to keep your iman safeguarded with while you're young, not just wait till you're old age and now just because I'm heading for my grave suddenly I do a lot of istighfar. The second story was to do with the fitna of the wealth, that you have wealth and you think you're it and nothing's going to destroy you, how overnight things can change. And in the middle then the story with Iblis, and to tell us that Allah has everything in his hands, and that there'll be ungrateful. They say, gosh, everything has been written down, big or small. Now, this third story is about Musa alayhi salam, and again, it could be from the Israeliyats, we don't know, but Musa alayhi salam was one of the what we call the big five prophets, the messengers, Ulul Azam, who had a great deal of thing. But anyway, he was either told, the background is that maybe he was told that there is somebody wiser than you, and so he, of course, having the interest, we always want to learn from somebody, even if we have to go to Timbuktu, the saying goes, like go to China for the sake of deen if you have to. So he wanted to find this person, and he because he had divine knowledge, and he said, I'd love to learn from him. So he went. So he said to his attendant, let's go. We have to go to the junction of the two seas. And when the two seas come, that's where we will find the person we are looking for. And that's where, but when they reached the junction, they forgot about the fish was supposed to jump into the sea, which it did, but they didn't notice it for whatever reason. And then when they had to, Musa alayhi salam reminded his fitya, his lad, his attendant, now bring me some food because, we've really been walking for a long time. And Musa alayhi salam started this story by saying, I'm going to search for that place until, even if it takes me a long time. So again, the ulul azam, his capacity of having strength, of saying, like we give up so soon. I'm just going to search a little bit. As soon as I can't get it, I'll say, forget it. That's the end of it. So having the grit, the follow through and going to it, that's what that beginning passage of ayah 60 reflects about Musa alayhi salam. Then they're tired, he wants to eat something. He said, oh, but did you see the fish? It took its a marvelous way into the sea, and I forgot to tell you, and nobody but shaitan stopped me from made me forget about it, to tell you. So Musa alayhi salam said, that's where we had to be. That's a crossing where we would have met the person. So now they have to come back. So there's a lot of tafsir on it, of what this missing the boat and then having to come back to the point of reference, what that reflects in our own lives, of how we derail and then we come back. There's plenty there, so I would prefer that you go and do it yourself. I'm not competent to give you a whole great detail on it, nor do I feel the time is appropriate for it. I'd just like to give you a recap that that's all very significant. And the beautiful thing is, he said, Satan made me forget. And Musa alayhi salam, when he said, oh, that's where we had to go, he, as a senior, didn't belabor the point, which sometimes we might do with our children. Why didn't you remember? What did you do? What did you do? And keep nagging them for having forgotten to tell you at the right time what was needed. And so he doesn't, but they just trace the footsteps, and that's where what we listened to the recording of that from 65. They found one of our servants, وَوَجَدَ أَبْدًا مِنْ إِبَادِنَا آتَيْنَاهُ رَحْمَةً مِنْ إِنْدِنَا. And there's so much emphasis on it. We gave him rahmah, and from our very own selves, وَأَلَّمْنَاهُ مِنْ لَدُنَّا ilma, and again from our very selves we gave him ilm. This is the person Musa alayhi salam was looking for. And then and so Musa alayhi salam says, attabi'uka ala an tu'allimani mimma ullimtu rushda. Can I follow you so that you may so that I may learn something of the high learnings that you have learned from of the rushd, of being rightly guided. Just for you to try and keep tabs of the Arabic also. This same word rushda is what those sleepers of the cave, the Ashab al-Kahf, said when they said, قَالَ رَبَّنَا آتِنَا مِن لَدُنْكَ رَحْمَةً وَهَيِّئْ لَنَا مِنْ أَمْرِنَا رُشْدًا. You give us the rahmah, cover us with rahmah, and guide, sort out our affairs in the best way, in the most rushd way that you have of the rightly guided. So, and we listen to 67 where he says, قَالَ إِنَّكَ لَن تَسْتَطِيعَ مَعِيَ صَبْرًا. And he said, truly, innaka, truly you will not be able to have patience with me. And then he goes on to say, فَكَيْفَ تَصْبِرُ. How can you have patience over things that you have no knowledge of, or you don't have, your knowledge is not تُخْتِ بِهِ خُبْرًا, that you don't have full knowledge of it. So, and then in Musa alayhi salam says that, no, inshallah, I will not, I will be patient and I won't disobey you in aught. And then, so the other one says, okay, if you will follow me, ask me, no, فَلَا تَسْأَلْنِي عَنْ شَيْءٍ حَتَّى أُحْدِثَ لَكَ مِنْهُ ذِكْرًا. So make sure you don't ask me anything until I myself mention it. So a few things come up. A few things the teacher is saying, look, you're not going to be able to have patience. I'm not sure if, I need to take you as an apprentice or whatever. Because how could you have patience because of that? So the beautiful reply from Musa alayhi salam is that he put in inshallah. Inshallah, by Allah's grace, I will have patience and I won't disobey you. For me, the big lesson here is about the student-teacher relationship of when we go to a class. I mean, I've enrolled in this, I've enrolled in that class. I don't go and commit to myself, I'm not going to disobey them, I'm going to get the work done on time. I don't do anything. I'm like, I'm here for fun. If I get it, I get it. If I'm the one paying, there's this arrogance within the students of thinking the teacher is there doing them a favor just because we're paying them a fee. But the way things was what an honor the teacher was. We would be grateful if somebody took us on as an apprentice or as a student. So all of that comes to replay of having a relook of what is education, what is a teacher-student relationship about, and what, again, humility needs to be forthcoming in it. But we will continue in that vein just after the short break that we will take and take that story further. So, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back with Najm Ansari, and we're having a look at the third story of Surah Kahf, in which Musa alayhi salam is out on a journey looking for a teacher, which he finds, and then he has this dialogue with him of, may I follow you? The teacher says, I'm not sure you'll have the patience to, because you won't understand the things. He said, no, inshallah, you will find me patience and I won't disobey you in aught. So he said, okay. The teacher agrees, and he says, well, just make sure you don't ask me any questions until I mention the story. I mentioned something to yourself, explaining it. So many lessons to come out just from there. Many of us will probably know the three events that take place now. Traditionally, yes, from tradition we have it that his name was Khidr, that he was a green person. But for me, the beauty is, let's not get derailed into side things. If it's there, if you want to know more about him, who was he, how was he? But Allah hasn't told us. Here, He just said he is a person who we taught him from our own presence in 65, from our own presence, and we gave him mercy and we taught him knowledge. And the same idea of Allamnahu min ladunna ilma, the same concept comes in Surah Namal when Sulaiman alayhi salam asked, who will be able to bring her throne to me, referring to the Queen of Sheba. And so the one with strength and this and that, Ifrit, the jinn, he said, I'll bring it before you finish your assembly with your meeting here. And then they said, but the other one who was min ilmika, I can't remember the right word, but it was the one endowed with knowledge. He said, I'll bring it to you in a blinking of an eye. And the next minute it was there. So he was also there too. The description was he was bestowed by Allah ilm. So a few things also, the significance of ilm, and there's also difference between ilm and wisdom. But if the ilm that you have from Allah, that's what gives you solace. And all this secular business of, well, tell us, do you really condone this? I mean, they always ask you the wrong questions. They always lead you astray into the wrong kind of ilm. Well, if this is it, then that. But they are always drawing the wrong conclusions. And this is the beauty of the Quran. It thinks and fixes your way of thinking. Because through the media, but through just the Western, secular, whatever, non-Islamic information, your thinking is become warped into where they want to take you to. And the Quran keeps bringing you back, well, what is true ilm? Where is it? Why is it that we use the mashallah, the inshallah, the knowing of taking it always back to Allah? It's nothing of mine, nothing of my grace, whatever you have. And in the next story, he will say the same thing, Zulqarnain, that, it's by Allah's grace. So I don't need anything from you. But I'm just jumping the gun. But anyway, so this basic, also laying down the principle, again, me enrolled in a school, enrolled into doing something. Yeah, if I learn my Arabic, I will, but if I don't, I don't. It's like, you teacher need to be there. No, the adab and the respect of the teacher, and that they are able to put down ground rules, don't ask me. And I know also we in the West have also always been taught to be very disrespectful, very like, the teachers are just there for our purposes. And we will jump in anytime. Oh, well, why this? Or why was his tie blue? Or why this? Or why that? We don't have that respect. And here, what is being told, and I've learned that in doing Darul Uloom, into doing Islamic studies, is that you keep your mouth shut. If the teacher is talking, let him talk when he finishes. And invariably, if there is the sincerity in the heart, believe me, he will cover what your question was, if it was sincere. And if it was just for the heck of it, then you've lost the plot. Anyway, now just to get back to the stories of it, they proceeded, something happened in the boat, and then Musa alayhi salam is just scandalized, and he said, what you did was min ma shayan imra. What a funny thing, what a strange thing that you've done. And so the teacher says, for convenience, I will use Khizr once or twice, but because his name is not given, it's better if we stay away from it and just say, the teacher, what did he say? He said, didn't I tell you won't have patience for me? So Musa alayhi salam says, oops, please don't raise any difficulty with me, because I don't rebuke me for forgetting. So again, the allowance of forgetting, and that he truly forgot when he blurted out, what on earth have you done? The next case was when he punched a child, or when he just killed a child, and he says, have you killed somebody, an innocent child who had done nothing? That's a real shame, nukra. Another word he uses, which is an unheard of thing. It's really unknown that anybody should be doing something like that. And so in 75, again, his teacher says, well, didn't I tell you, alam aqul laka innaka lan tastati'a ma'a sabra? You won't have patience with me? So then Musa alayhi salam says, okay, please, if I ask you anything about this, you will have had full excuse not to have me with you as an apprentice, and you don't have to keep me with you. It's like 2 strikes and then 3 strikes and you're gone. If you miss, so here he already puts it forth that if I make a mistake, you'll be well within your rights to tell me to get lost. So anyway, they proceed for however long, and they're tired or whatever. They come to this village. They ask them for istatama. They ask them for food. They refuse them basic hospitality, because that was the way of that when you go somewhere and if you see their travelers, and we have this in our culture. There are so many decent Muslims, guys, if we stopped somewhere in a different town and they pick up that you are a stranger or a foreigner or you're a traveler through, they immediately ask you after Jummah, come home and have a meal. So I'm just saying that our sunnah, or our good akhlaq, emanates from these things. And these people from this village, it talks about Qarya, it's a small town, and then it talks about it that these people from Medina, because supposedly inhospitality is linked with the Medina, with the bigger city, the cosmos. We never have time for anybody, really. So that was just interesting in just that ayah of 77. So anyway, there was a cracked wall or something falling apart, and he fixes this wall. So Musa alayhi salam can't help himself, but says that we could have at least asked for recompense, and then we could have had our meal. So then the teacher says, well, this is it. We have to part our ways, but now I'll explain to you why all those things happen. So that's what then happens, that he explains why A, B, and C. And the beautiful thing is, because it's all from the ghaib, it was things that on the world, whatever Musa alayhi salam objected to with him as a Rasul, was always about right and wrong. So he had to correct it. He had to say it. That was put in him. That was what he was. He is going to jump on something wrongdoing. Now, he doesn't know that from the unseen what happened in the first case. It was better if the boat was scuttled so that the king wouldn't steal it, and so on, so on. And inshallah, I hope you all know the story, so I don't want to belabor that. And that's why if it's just damaged a little bit, they can only fix it, but it won't get confiscated. The next story, the child, and again he said, I'll tell you for the boat what it belonged to. In 80, he says that, and of the youth, his parents were decent people, and we feared that he would grieve them as he grew old, rebellious and with ingratitude. So we desired that Allah, that their Rabbahum khayrun minhu, give him something better in zakatan wa aqraba rohma, and closer in affection. So this is I'm going to use the word Khizr now, who is giving the explanation for A, B, and C. And he said, as for the wall, it belonged to two orphans. Their father was a Saleh person, and it had buried under it a treasure. But if it had broken, these, you can see what kind of people they were in that town anyway. They would have just gobbled it all up. So we wanted to fix it so it would last long as these kids would grow up, and then they can retrieve their own treasure under the wall. And so their Rabb desired they should attain their age and the full strength, and this was a mercy from your Rabb. And then he goes on to say in 82, he said, وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ عَنْ أَمْرِهِ ذَلِكَ تَأْوِيلُ مِنْ أَمْرٍ لَمْ تَسْتَطِعْ عَلَيْهِ صَبْرًا. I didn't do any of this on my own accord, but these are the interpretations of the things you weren't able to have patience. A few things, beautiful things that come up in the tafsir, just to have an overview of it, that when he gave the answer about why he scuttled the boat and why he killed the child, he took the onus on himself because he did two negative things. So he said, this is what we hoped for, that Allah would give him better, and this is what we did. But when he did the good thing of fixing the wall, he said Allah desired it for them, that the wall should be fixed and so that they may retrieve it themselves. So the beauty again is try and look at the nuances of the language, of where there's a shift in from me to him or him to you, or when Allah says we and then he says me, what is the closeness or what is the distancing of it. All these things are very, very significant. So I wish we would take heed of those. And for the moment, that's where I need to end it. I'll recap it in our next episode. But for now, I just pray whatever has been said is beneficial and we can take something from this story also. So, Subhana Rabbika Rabbil Izzati Amma Yasifun wa Salamun al Mursaleen walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
La 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 la.